Yo, what up, my guy?
What's going on?
Living the Florida dream. How's Idaho treating you guys in the full swing of the off season?
Yeah, we're about 4 weeks in to off-season training. The weather out here is beautiful right now. It hasn't really snowed at all. It's like 30s, 40s, sunny. So we've gotten kind of lucky with that.
Yeah, ain't too bad. See, you're in
Yeah.
the office, y'all just wrap up a workout today, or
Yeah, we had open hours this morning. Just guys
okay.
coming in and getting some extra work, recovery, arm farm, doing stuff out on the field. So yeah, I just stuck around and hung out.
What's up? Are you just with football?
No, I do football and I also do the men's and women's golf teams.
Oh, okay, that's not too bad of a little mix up there.
Yeah, not bad at all.
So how'd you get from interning for Cal Dietz Minnesota hockey to Idaho football and golf? What's the journey look
Uh,
like?
yeah, it was a weird, interesting journey. So my internship, the internship that I had with Cal was a volunteer internship, and then I transitioned over to working with basketball in the Spirit Squads in a paid internship. But then that position ended in May of 2024. They actually cut the position; they don't have it anymore. So I knew that I was going to have to move on and go find something else. And so I was applying to a whole bunch of different jobs, some full-time jobs, bunch of GA jobs, interviewed for a couple. Um, and then I applied for this Idaho job and didn't hear anything back. Kind of assumed that it was dead in the water. And then a GA job came up at Mercer down in Georgia. And
Mhm.
I got that job and went down there. And literally like 2 or 3 days after I got there, I got a call from the head football strength coach here, asking me to interview. So I interviewed, and then like 2 weeks later, he called me and told me I got the job. So then I packed up and left Georgia. So I was down in Georgia for 3 weeks and then
Yeah, that's
came
crazy. I
up
remember
here.
seeing on the Instagram you with Mercer and then with Idaho, but that's the nature of the beast, switching
Yeah.
switching schools, it happens. God
Yeah, it
calls you
was
in different directions.
100%. It was weird. I made the whole drive from Minnesota, went back home to Ohio to Cincinnati for a little bit, then drove down to Georgia, had a whole bunch of car issues. Like it was a whole deal.
Talk.
Um, it wasn't, as you know, like GA jobs are not that glorious. And so it wasn't a great, financial situation down in Georgia, but it was a good
Mhm.
job. I was working with great people. Evan Barr, who was the director of strength and conditioning there, is well known in the industry. He's at Toledo now as their head football strength coach. So I knew it was going to be a good situation. It was going to be a grind. And
Yeah.
I had kind of gotten to a point where like I had accepted that I was going to be down there and that like that was going to be my life for the next year, year and a half of just kind of gutting it out and making things work with the little resources that I had. Um, getting my master's and then finishing out the GA term and then trying to set myself up for the next job. And it was literally right after that point where I was like, all right, I'm here. This is where my feet are. This is where I'm going to be for the next however long that I got the job in Idaho and had to move. And so it was a weird dynamic of like I had accepted the situation and fully placed my energy and attention towards being down in Georgia and at Mercer, and then something else got thrown my way, and it was just a weird redirection. But that's kind of how it works sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's hard to turn down those, a full-time opportunity over a GA spot. It's just
Yeah, no, I mean it was a no-brainer for
yeah.
sure, but it was just divine timing.
Yeah. No, I wish that I feel like I just missed the good cycle at the University of Minnesota. Like me and you had what, maybe like 2, 3 weeks crossover, and then you and
Mhm.
Jungles came in at the same time, like right after I was leaving.
Yeah, Jungles was a little
In
bit
summer.
after me. I think
Okay.
he was there towards the end of the summer, like as I was transitioning from working with hockey to going over to basketball. So I would like bounce back and
Got you.
forth a lot when Jungles was there. But yeah, there was a good squad there.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. How do you think that so with some of Cal's stuff, like using the RPR for warm up, some things like the goat drill, banded exercise, how do you bring that approach to football where it's all supposed to be, the rah-rah energy, we got to be hard no matter what, the toughness. Do you use RPR with your teams now?
I use it with the men's and women's golf teams. It's part of their warm up that they do before every lift. I use it more on an individual basis with the football team. Like we don't do it any in group settings at all.
Hmm.
But if guys have specific issues, like I handle all of the, like return to play and all of the injury modifications for guys during the off-season program. So I
Okay.
get to work with them pretty closely and kind of ex experiment might not be the right word, but like try different things with them, probably some things that they've never seen before. So if guys are having certain issues, um, or if I'm working with guys to try to help their sprinting and stuff like that, I'll test them on an individual basis and show them a couple different things, and kind of show them the whole system of like, the hip extension test and be like, hey, look, when you squeeze your big toe, it turns your glutes on. And then, hey, you can also hit this spot and it helps your glutes turn on and all that kind of stuff. And so I get to do that with different guys on an individual level where I can kind of open their eyes to the neural side of it and explain it to them in depth. Um, but I think that my boss, his name's Jamel Cooper. He's great. He's amazing. I love working for him. He worked with the Rams for 4 years before coming here, won a Super Bowl. So he's been at the
Nice.
highest of levels and
Yeah.
understands what it takes to get there. And he views everything from a performance standpoint. I think that he balances really, really well, like what you're talking about with football, the energy, the enthusiasm, the hard training with making decisions that are in the best interest of our athletes. Um, he doesn't really believe in just like doing mindless hard things. He for sure makes them do difficult things, and sometimes there can be certain consequences for certain decisions, but everything has a reason, and he'll always explain it to them. And it's always about the choice, choosing to do difficult things and choosing to do these things because you know that it's going to translate to the field or you know that it's going to help your mentality. So I've been able to present a lot of different things to him because he's very open to um, if it works and it helps them, I want to do it. He's not very, this is the way that I do everything. It's always my way or the highway. Like if we can improve our program and we can put something in that helps our athletes gets better, then I want to do it. And so I've been able to, like I ran the freshman during fall camp and then I ran our Devo group throughout the season last year. And he kind of, he let me have full control over that. So I put in a couple different performance cycle workouts and a power block, where you're doing just really, really basic level, like, you squat, you hinge, you do an accelerated jump, then you do a Yuri. Upper body, you do a press, you do a pull, then you do a plyo push up, and then you do a med ball slam. Just introducing them
Right.
to that nature of training. And he really liked that. Um, where we started doing goat drills in our warm-ups for this off season. Like we do every workout, we have 3 warm-up stations. So after they do a team warm up, they'll do some jumping jacks, just some general movement stuff. Then they spread out and we split them into 3 stations. We rotate through those 3 stations before the lift. My station on lower body days is goat drill and sprints. So Monday we'll do the goat drill and pair it with, have you ever used a run rocket or do you know what those
I
are?
don't think so. No, I'm not familiar with the Run Rocket.
Okay, so it's just resisted sprinting. It's
Okay.
like a 1080 or a T Apex or something like that. So we pair goat drill with resisted sprints, and then Thursday we do goat drill with prime times and free sprints.
Okay.
So I've
Nice.
been able to take just little things. He'll ask me for my input, and obviously he has full say in everything that goes on, and he has his own idea of the stuff that he wants to do. But if there's conversations that we can have where I can bring up a suggestion or he wants input from me, then I can use everything that I learned from Cal and at Minnesota and at the other places that I've been to add input and to try to add value. And he's been very, very open and very receptive to that. So he has enabled all of that stuff to happen. So it's been awesome.
Nice. Have you been able to like experiment any with the goat drill? Like I don't want to give away any trademarked ideas, but one school that does football, I noticed with the goat drill, instead of doing the math like the addition or subtraction problems, they will like shout football plays or they'll show like the sign cards and the players have to recite the plays while they're doing the goat drill. Have you had any experience like messing with the goat drill or making it more like football specific at all?
No, not really. That is a good idea though. Um, when we started it, just to introduce it to them, I put up a spot for their eyes to look at. I just put up a picture of a cheetah,
Okay.
just to kind of, how Cal, were you there when Cal put I think it was a cheetah, like a gorilla and an elephant up?
We didn't do that, but we did the different colored eyeglasses based on what your favorite color and what your least favorite color was.
Yeah, so I think after you left, he put up like on both sides of a Yuri rack and like on both sides of the pit shark step ups, he had three different pictures. I think it was a cheetah, a gorilla, and an elephant. And it was whatever phase you were in. Like if you were in the speed phase, you looked at the cheetah. If you were
Okay.
in power, you looked at the gorilla. If you were in strength, you looked at the elephant. And so it was just like a neurological association with the quality that you were chasing. So now I kind of remembered that and I picked a picture of the cheetah. So I put that up in front of the goat drills for them to look at and told them the first day, like especially the big guys like the O lineman, the D lineman, like I told them, I know you might not feel like a cheetah, but like today in this drill during the goat drill, like you're a cheetah. You got to
You're a
embody the
cheetah
cheetah.
today.
Yeah. So I did that. We didn't do any counting for the first, I think, 3 weeks. And then I added the counting this week. We just started doing started 100 countdown by twos. I want to do some of that like reactive stuff where you're having to react to a stimulus and then respond to that stimulus. So like having somebody stand in front of it and like flash numbers or something like that and have them recite the numbers. Um, I try to juice it up and like when the quarterbacks are going through it or the linebackers, I want to emphasize, especially since this was the first week doing the counting, I really emphasize them being loud and confident with it. I knew that they were going to mess up, but that's not the point of it. The point of it is to
Right.
just try to pick up where you left off and resume your counting as opposed to getting frustrated with it or whatever. So I harped on with the quarterbacks and the linebackers, especially just like being loud, like, and I would kind of throw stuff at them like, hey, like I need to know what the check is. I need to know what the call is. Like I can't hear you. I need you to be loud. So just some of those associations with tying the skill of like projecting your voice and being loud and vocal and communicating into the drill. Although I haven't done anything that is necessarily football specific with like calls or plays or anything like that.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, that's an interesting idea using the different images of animals based on the training phase you're in. That's I'm gonna have to do some more research into that one. I like that.
Yeah, it was good. It was funny when he put it up.
Uh, do you follow the triphasic with your groups or triphasic as a whole for the Idaho program, or how does that work there?
Um, I would say that I use a triphasic style of thinking when I program from
Okay.
like a anterior posterior idea. I'm not doing what triphasic looks like at Minnesota. Some of that is related to logistics and setup. Like for
It's
example,
a lot of bands, a lot of setup required.
yeah, like I did it with like when I was at Minnesota doing the Spirit Squad and the golf teams, I did it a lot more because I had a lot more freedom and ability because like I would have like golf in the morning or in the afternoon with like no other teams around it, or I would have Spirit Squad by themselves in their own weight room. Whereas here, like I have the golf team at 6 a.m. and then we have three football lifts at 7, 9, and 11. So
Hmm.
I don't have time to like, make some crazy setup and then have
Yeah.
time to break it down, get the room set up for football, then be ready for football. Um, and same thing with football. So much of football is like, and I'm sure that because just being at Oregon, like it's all about logistics and how well you can make the workout run because you have 30 to 40 guys in the room at the same time. So everything
Yeah.
is about efficiency and just making sure that the guys know what they're doing. And if you have way too much stuff going on, um, it's just not going to be very successful. And you could do it. I think it would take a lot of time and a lot of like giving the athletes things in pieces and then saying like, okay, we did this last week and now we're going to add to it. Now you have 6 exercises in your performance cycle instead of four. Now you have eight and just giving it to them piece by
Hmm.
piece. Um, I think that I experimented a lot, like I was saying, with the freshmen, doing some more triphasic style stuff with those performance cycles and introducing them to, things like Yuri's and, pairing squats and an RDO with a jump and a Yuri and just that that style of training because I think that that's so foreign to people, especially in football. Like that's just
Yeah,
not what a lot of
definitely.
football programs look like. And honestly, after getting removed from Minnesota and Cal, and I had my own teams for the first time, like with Spirit Squad. Admittedly, in hindsight, I totally jumped the gun. which I think turned out fine. But I got out of learning from Cal and seeing the triphasic system, and I went immediately into like, I want to implement this exactly, or I want to try to do
Mhm.
it. I want to try to do everything that I possibly can, and give them this, 24 exercises in a workout, isometric circuit, and think that it'll
Yeah,
just be fine. Um, but I think that I've learned to scale it back a little bit, and especially with like, let's say my football freshmen, for example, they needed to learn, or they were not proficient enough in just like basic weight room operation or basic squat patterns or basic pressing patterns. Like there was so much that they needed to learn before giving them way too much information. So I think that
understandable.
yeah, and two with the golf teams as well. Like, um, golfers admittedly aren't the most impressive athletes, just to say it bluntly. Like on the scale of like all the teams that we have, you're probably not going to pick the golfers as like the most athletic teams. And so,
Right.
and there's a sliding scale there too. Like there are some of the golfers that are more athletic than others. Um, but again, more so what they need is just a couple things that they can focus on and get better at. If you inundate them with way too much information or way too many things to focus on, um, I think that it would be detrimental to their training. Now, I've already had one semester with them. This is my second semester with them. My goal is to obviously keep building on it so that, let's say, next fall semester, that we're at a better level or a higher level than we were last fall semester when I first started with them. So I think there's some level of investment that has to come before you can dive into the deep end. Um, but obviously, still some of that triphasic thinking informs everything that I do with anterior posterior cycling, contrast, um, co-contractions, and neurological training, isometrics, long duration isometrics. Like I kind of sprinkle all of those things into the way that I program, where it makes sense for what phase I'm in and what I'm trying to accomplish.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. What have you seen, I guess, be the most successful thing you've implemented, being that you're working with the return to play guys?
I love doing long duration isos.
Yeah, they're
Like
magic.
yeah, like I've had a guy who's had shoulder problems, torn labrum, AC sprain. So on bench days, I started off having him do just long duration yielding dumbbell isos. I think we started off at like 2 minutes, and I've built him up to like 3 and 4 minutes, and we've done a couple weeks of that. And then I've started on him on some Mito training. Like he'll do
Mhm.
just like a pin bench press for started at 20 seconds. Now we're at 30 seconds. And then he'll do either dumbbell bench, or we have a machine chest press. I'll have him get on that and just do, slow controlled 2 second up, 2 second down.
Right.
And that's taken a lot of the stress off of his shoulder. Um, we've done long duration, just split squat ISOs. I had the golf team do that. Um, that was
Yeah,
brutal for
how'd
them.
they like that?
It was really hard, but it was good. And I explained to them as well, like there's so many different aspects of this than just, me trying to make this training hard for you. There's a neurological element to it. There's a toughness element to it, because you're going to have to hit the point of pain where you want to quit and you want to get yourself out of the position, and you have to tell your brain no, so that your brain learns that it's okay to stay in those positions and that you can do things that hurt and you can do things that you don't want to do. But then there's also the obvious physical adaptations that you get from it, as far as, tendon health and joint health and all of those things that come from long duration ISOs. So it's kind of a whole lot of different things packaged into one. And it can sometimes be the way that you present it to them. Like if you just tell
Mhm.
them, hey, we're doing this, but you don't give them any sort of um, intention or something to focus on while they're doing it, sometimes it loses its luster. So I think that's been really helpful. Um, one of our GAs has been doing long duration ISOs with the soccer team for their preseason, their off-season training. Um, so yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I've brought that have helped a significant amount of people.
You know, that's a good point explaining the reason why. Because I think like if you just had a team and you're like, all right, we're doing, 5 minute, 3 minute, whatever it is, ISOs today, without explaining the reason why, they're gonna be like, we did these in middle school, or is this a punishment workout? Like, why is coach got me wall sitting for 5 minutes? But
Yeah, like this is
that
boring.
aspect of, yeah, exactly. So explaining to them, how it's gonna help their joints, and even gamifying it to a certain point. Like what I did with the tennis team I worked with at Coker was when we would do our split squat ISO, I'd line them up like an arm's length away from each other, and I'd give them a tennis ball, and then they could play tennis back and forth while doing their split squat, but they couldn't break their position. If they broke their position, it was points for the other team where they had to try to score while bouncing it, staying in that position. So I think that almost kind of made it seem like the 5 minutes flew by, and they wanted to keep going in that game.
Yeah, like anytime that you can make it more engaging for them, I think it just helps them. I mean, you'll have certain people that you could just be like, "Hey, yeah, we're doing 5 minute ISOs, let's go."
Yeah,
But
they'll just
I
get
think,
down to business.
yeah, and they'll just do it. But that's not everybody, and I think especially in a team setting, you have to exactly like you said, like gamify it and make it more exciting and more fun for them. Um, I also think that like, and I've said this to multiple people before that have been doing the 5 minute ISOs, like it helps fixes your brain rot brain. Like so many
Hmm.
of these kids are not used to doing one thing or staying in one position or focusing on one thing for 3 minutes, for 4 minutes, for
Yeah,
5 minutes.
no phone, no music, no screen.
Yeah.
Sometimes I let them have music, but
Yeah. So that's how I frame it to them too, as well, is like force your brain to focus on something for an extended period of time. Fix, like
yeah,
not fix, but like don't let your attention span get the best of you. Because
right,
that's what so many people, and especially college age kids nowadays, are subject to.
yeah. No, that's a good point. Especially, piggybacking off of that, going into the mindset stuff. I know you've been doing your quote of the day. Do you share that with your team, or what are some of the strategies you use to, get that mindset when it's a grueling college football season? You got off-season training starting in January, and season might not end until December.
Yeah. I do a quote of the day every day for the golf team. So they lift Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I've started sharing a quote of the day with them before their lift. I stopped doing it on social media, partly just because we got into the grind of off-season training, and I made it a goal at one point to do it on my drive to work, and that didn't last very long. Um,
Yeah,
I
that
just never felt
five
like
that 5 o'clock drive will come around real quick.
yeah, real quick, and sometimes I just want to get to the facility and get the day started, and my mind's on other things, and or could argue with myself and be like, that's exactly the why I should do it, is to get myself going in the morning, and have something to say. But sometimes I wanted to be in my own space and have a silent drive to work and get myself mentally prepared for the day and not feel like I had to, provide any sort of output to the world yet at 5 a.m. in the morning. Um, I don't know. Maybe that's something else. Maybe that's something that I should make myself do for that reason, is to wake myself up and get myself engaged for the day and get myself thinking. But then if I didn't do it in the morning, I wouldn't really have time to do it during the day. And then I'd get home and all I wanted to do when I got home was eat and go to sleep. And
Yeah.
sometimes it would take me like 30 minutes to make the video, to like figure out what I wanted to say, make the video, probably do a couple takes to get it right, and then edit the video and then post it. And that's like 45 minutes. And that's 30 or 45 minutes I could have been sleeping. So I was like, I just felt like I needed to put a pause on it. Um, but I still collect a lot of quotes. Like there's so many screenshots of my phone on my phone of quotes. Um, so I share that with the golf team. And then a lot of the football guys, like when I started doing it, they would see it because they follow me, and they would come up to me and talk to me about it, and, you know, think that it was cool and have something to say about the quote of the day or ask me what the quote of the day was. Um, but yeah, I think that it's a real balance. And I think that I see that as something that I can continue to provide to the football world specifically. I really have always felt like that. If you think about like just the psyche in general as like masculine and feminine, like the environment of college football is very, very masculine dominant, almost immature masculine dominant, where it's very warrior-esque, it's very military-esque. Um, and there's a great quote, I forget what it is, but it's basically the idea that like you should be everything. You should be you should be a warrior, you should be a poet, you should be a philosopher, you should be, and it lists a couple of other things that are seemingly like dualities, like that don't fit together, like a warrior and a poet.
Hmm.
But that's like
Right.
that's what being a whole person, a whole man is being able to use all of these different parts of your psyche. And so I really
Marcus
view that,
Aurelius.
Yeah, 100%. Um, and so I've always felt like throughout my entire journey of being in college football that like um, I'm relatively unique in that sense. I haven't met many people that are interested in some of these things that I'm interested in or have gone to the depth of these things that I've gone to. And that's not me trying to say that like, oh, I'm different or whatever. It's just like it doesn't seem common in college football just because of that like gritty, tough nature of it. And so
Mhm.
I try to continue to tap into that whenever I can with having individual conversations with players or just, sharing a word of wisdom. And I've been fortunate and grateful and humbled to have some of the players recognize that and tell me, oh, like you always have these wise things to say and whatever. And that's, gives you a little ego boost and
Yeah.
makes you feel kind of good. But like it also it it shows that people are ready to receive that and they just need somebody who is the vessel for that for them. And so that kind of gives me the inspiration to keep doing that. But you're exactly right that like especially now it gets really, really mundane in the off-season training. You get 4 weeks in and you've been doing the same workouts for 4 weeks and you have to find a way to, keep showing up and understand that the goals that you set, you're only going to achieve those if you continue to show up and do the work. And I think Inky Johnson has a really good quote about that. He says, I'm going to butcher this exactly what it is, but it's basically the idea that like discipline and commitment is staying committed and disciplined to your goals long after the feeling in which you first set them has passed. So like when you
Yeah,
first
no,
start
that's
the off
good.
season, it's like everybody's gung ho, we're all ready to go. It's exciting. It's a new year, new players on your team, new coaches, you know, blank slate. And then you get three,
Mhm.
4, 5 weeks in and you forget that feeling. You forget all of the dreams and the goals that you set out to accomplish when you felt good and you were like ready to take on the world. And now you're hurt. Your body doesn't feel great. Coaches are yelling at you every day. They're holding you to a standard. They're giving you grades. You're getting called out for XYZ. Your teammates are challenging you. And you forget about how confident or how convicted you were about your goals. And so you have to remember that feeling that you were in when you set those goals and go back to that and try to tap into that and not forget that. And realize that some of those feelings are just temporary and some of those feelings are meant to try to pull you away from those goals. And that's exactly what discipline and commitment is remembering that I said I was going to do this and now I have to do it despite how I feel.
No, that's a great point. That's something that I've always preached to teams that I've worked with too. It's easy to set those high goals, in the off season or the beginning of the season when everything is fresh, when your body feels fresh. But uh, whether it be if you're in the middle of the season, you're on a losing streak, or whether, like you said, you're in the off season, you're 5, 6 weeks in, and you haven't seen family in a while. Your school load is kind of heavy. Your body's starting to break down. Can you still hold that level of discipline that you set yourself to? Because everybody says they wants to win. Everybody says they're going to put the effort in, but can you show up and do it on the days that you don't want to? Because that's truly where you find out who you are.
Mhm. And that's what it takes to win. Like, I think that a lot of people want, um, the right word to say this. Like they want the convoluted story when in
Mhm.
reality, or like the epic motivation when in reality, it's pretty simple. It's like if you want to win, you just have to do what winners do.
Yeah,
Like
formula's already been laid out for you.
like if you really want to win, then the answer is right in front of you. You just have to do what you don't want to do. It's very, very
Yeah.
simple. And so I think people sometimes, and we do this with ourselves too, anytime that we try to like, if you want to make a change in your life or you want to build a certain habit or break a certain habit, you can build it up and make it this big spectacle when in the reality, like you just have to stop doing the thing or you just start doing the thing. And I think that those are barriers that people put up in order to not do what they know they have to do. They try to make it this like, oh, well, I need to figure X, Y, and Z out, and I can't start doing that until this. Like, no.
Excuses.
Yeah, it's simple. You do the thing that you know you need to do.
100%. Yeah. One question I like to ask everybody is, what is a hill that you're willing to die on when it comes to strength and conditioning? What is something that you've changed your mind on within the last year?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'm gonna have to think on that for a second. see, a hill that I'm willing to die on.
Well, you think about it. I'll give you my two. How about
Okay,
that?
yeah, let me hear yours.
All right. So my hill that I'm willing to die on is that speed is important for every athlete. Speed, 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 speed. I don't care if you're a golfer. I don't care if you're esports. Somehow I'm gonna train you for speed, whether it be neurological or whether it be actual physical speed. I'm gonna make you faster somehow. I'm gonna make your brain process faster. I'm gonna make your legs move faster, your arms move faster. That's my goal, whether it be I'm only getting an hour, 2 hours with the team per week, we're going to train speed somehow. Um, and then what I've changed my mind on in the last year is that programming or program design is probably the least important aspect of being a strength and conditioning coach. And what I mean by that is I think there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. You go to a conference, NSCA, or you ask 100 different coaches what their program is, you're going to get 100 different answers. But what makes the weight room special or what makes the connection to athletes better is how well you're able to relate to them, how well you can work the room, especially if you're working with teams or athletes that don't even want to show up to lift. I think the great coaches are the ones that can find a way to squeeze the most out of those athletes. And so that for me, I think is something that I've changed my mind on. Specifically, I guess going into that was coming out of University of Minnesota, kind of like you had, you get this wealth of knowledge from Cal. You think, you got everything figured out when it comes to strength training, design a perfect program for your team. And my approach was when I was working with my own teams was almost like, I've built this program for you. I've given you the blueprint to build the house. But you're the contractor. You've got to be the one to build the house. Um, and not to say that I wasn't trying to motivate or work in the room, but I left it up to the athletes for how much effort they were willing to put into their workouts. And so that's something that I've drastically changed to where, whatever we're doing, whatever your ability is, I'm gonna squeeze the most out of you. I'm gonna make you put forth that effort.
Yeah, I love that. Um, okay, so I think that the hill that I'm going to die on is that the brain is the most important thing to train,
Excellent
which
answer.
which is similar to yours, but this is how I explained the goat drill when we first introduced it to our players was that it's a neurological drill. It's meant to challenge you. It's meant to challenge your coordination. It's going to make you a better athlete because it's going to elevate the way that your brain works. Because if you have all of it, and I gave them it's like the RPR, the analogy, I think that they do it in the RPR course. They say the light switch analogy,
Hmm.
where like if the wiring doesn't work, even if you have a perfectly good light bulb, it's not going to turn on. Um, you could have all of these muscles, but if your brain doesn't know how to use them, they're no good to you.
Right.
So in order to take your God-given gifts and talents that were gifted to you, you have to elevate your brain because then that elevates everything else. So there always has to be some sort of neurological component to your training. And what you were describing, like speed can be neurological. I explained that to my golfers actually last week because I introduced them to um, some of them were leaving for a tournament on Saturday or today, and they were training yesterday. So I introduced them to kind of um, like a priming lift, something to get them moving fast. Plyo push-ups, accelerated jumps, dumbbell jumps, stuff like that. Um, and I told them how like part of speed and part of moving fast is your brain being able to handle that speed and being safe moving at that velocity. Because again, if your muscles can move that fast, but your brain isn't coordinated enough or isn't or doesn't believe that that's safe because it thinks that you're going to hurt yourself, then you're not going to be able to move as fast as you possibly could. So there's always going to be a brain element to everything that you do. Same thing with like that even applies to like your toe glute reflex. Like when you're squatting, if you're squatting in freaking Pegasus is and you're standing on a 2-inch rubber mat, like your feet aren't gonna be able to grip the ground. And that's a brain thing
Yeah.
partly. Like yes, it's obviously a physical thing with your feet being connected to the ground and all of the kinematics that are involved in that, but it's also a brain thing, like your brain being able to stabilize and understand again that it's safe and that it can put as much force into the ground as possible while being stable. And if it's, wobbling on a fucking rubber shoe, then your brain's not going to be able to produce as much output. So that's a brain thing. And I know that Jungles has talked about this too, but I think everything kind of has to come through that lens of, are we allowing the brain to operate in the highest capacity possible? Um, and I think that one thing that I've changed is specifically thinking about triphasic ideas. I think that I've kind of more evolved in a strength phase. I don't know if I like necessarily doing all of the contrast and jumping and sprinting in a strength phase. On a dynamic day during a strength phase, yes. But on like heavy eccentric days, I'm not as inclined to do that. And even if
Mhm.
I'm am doing dynamic lifting days, especially with a population that has a low training age, or I feel like needs to hammer home the fundamentals of how to squat and how to bench press and how to move. Again, giving them way too many stimuli isn't going to be beneficial for them. So I've now more so viewed it to, in a strength phase, keeping it like bare bones lifting. We're trying to get good at squatting, we're trying to get good at benching, we're trying to get good at military pressing, we're trying to get good at rowing, giving them less stuff in blocks of exercises. So like they only have one main thing that they can focus on so they can actually build some strength. And
Mhm.
then when I get to like a power and a speed phase, that's where I more so focus on those performance cycles and adding the dynamic movements paired with your strength movements. So I take like a strength phase to build that foundational strength, and then in a power and a speed phase, then you use that foundational strength. And I think in line with that, I haven't had a lot of time to experiment with this, but in thinking about the progression of blocks that you go in, like at least in Cal's world, usually it goes depending on if you're using like a tester, like the Pro Performance Optimizer tester to test into a certain block or a certain phase. If you're just going in a traditional linear progression, it's strength, power, speed. But
Mhm.
the equation for power is force times velocity. So if you increase your force, you're going to increase your power. If you increase velocity, you're going to increase your power. So power is, and like Joe Padula has talked about this too, like power is just an expression. Power is not necessarily a quality that you're training. You really just use certain exercises in order to see how much power you can express. Whereas you train your ability to produce power by getting stronger or by moving faster. So a new idea that I've been thinking about and tossing around in my mind, but I haven't really been able to implement it yet. But my baseline progression would then be strength, speed, and then power. So you develop the force side of the power equation and then the velocity side of the power equation. And then you go into a block where you express both of those qualities together. And I think that that makes sense, but I don't know yet.
So are you trying that theory out with your own training or with your team's training?
Um, Neither. It's just an idea that I've been thinking
Okay.
about. Like,
Yeah.
because for the football team, like we actually will get to try it out with the football team because we've kind of been in a strength phase for the last 4 weeks, and then the next phase will be a higher velocity phase. So we'll see what that looks like. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like yet. Um, but no, I haven't been able to implement it in any way yet. That's just been like a thought that I'm like, oh, I think that that might be a good way to go.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That's definitely an interesting thought. I'll have to put some thought into that one too. Going into your own training, so I see you training for Apex as well.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, how's that going?
It's good. I feel good. We've been training for 4 weeks,
Okay.
tested, and then we did 2 weeks of GPP, and now we've been doing 2 weeks of lactate eccentrics. Even though I know people would like to throw around the word lactate, but it's not really lactate. It's ATP hydrolysis. But lactate eccentrics. So not super max eccentrics, sub max eccentrics, but anywhere from 20 to 40 seconds of tempo in a set.
Hmm.
So, but we're doing 5 days a week. So we go we were doing eccentric lower, eccentric upper, and then a dynamic lower, dynamic upper, and then a full body day on Friday. Um,
Gotcha.
so that's been good. I feel good.
Okay.
Again, we've had like limited time and space because we operate out of one weight room, and the
Mm,
guys that I train with, the GAs that work here, they also have other teams in the afternoon. So like on a
right.
typical day, we might only have 1 hour from the time that we get done with all of our football stuff, we eat, and then somebody might have a team in an hour. So again, we don't have time to, again, I'd love to do some more for us, especially like I'd love to do some of the more triphasic, like, you know, all encompassing, crazy setup type stuff, but we just don't have the
Hmm.
time to do that because we would spend more time setting stuff up than actually lifting.
Understandable. Yeah.
So
Do you plan on going doing the Apex in person, or are you going to do the virtual?
we'll just do it here, because we'll still be in spring ball
Got
when it
you.
when it happens at the end of April. So I would love to go do it, but I just won't be able to.
Yeah. What's the strong point and the weak point right now for the Apex events?
I forget what my Apex score was, but weak point definitely the mile.
Mm, yeah,
Um,
that's a
the, the,
that's a brutal
the
one if you're not training the cardio.
yeah. So that's definitely, I don't know how much that will matter to improve, like how much of a
Right.
significant improvement is worth it in the mile. Is like 30 seconds going to be enough to give me that extra bump or whatever? I don't know what
Hmm.
that would be. I'd like to get under a 7 minute mile. When we did it a couple weeks ago, I got like a 7:29 mile. I'd love to be under seven
Okay.
minutes. I think I can do it. Um, Especially now knowing what it feels like to do all of those things and then the mile. I think when I do it again, it'll be a lot better. We ran it on the track outside and I ran it barefoot and my calves cramped up like
Barefoot
100.
on the track on the
Yeah.
rubber.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. So my calves cramped up like 100 meters in. So I'm hoping that when I do it again and I do it properly, it'll be a lot better. Um, let's see. Strength, probably probably my 40-yard dash.
What yeah, I saw what are you running like a 4.4?
Yeah, so we ran, okay, so
Oh, it's moving.
our turf field outside has a bit of a slant to it. So
Oh,
we
so you ran
ran,
that sucker downhill.
yeah, so I made sure that we ran this. I ran that and I was like, holy, like no way I just ran a 4.3. So then we ran a second rep going uphill and it was like a 4.5,
That's still pretty
which is
good though. I mean,
still
that's
still
still like a
good.
4.4 average there.
Yeah.
Man,
So,
I didn't know you had wheels like that.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Man,
So I'd say on the polarity, on the extremes, like the 40-yard dash probably the best, mile probably the worst. Um, Jumping's okay. I forget what I hit.
have you done the 405 deadlift in a minute yet?
Yes, yeah, we did everything that first day that we tested.
Okay.
We did the entire Apex competition.
I haven't done the 405 since they changed it to that. I did the 315 in a minute, and yeah,
Yeah,
I see why they changed that now because that was
yeah.
relatively easy. But no, I
How
haven't
many
done
did you get?
the 405. 315 in a minute. I think I was at like 47.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. I
but
think
yeah,
I did 28. I think with 405.
okay. Yeah, I'm gonna try the 405 this week actually, see where I'm at for
Okay.
that. But
Yeah,
I
let
had
me
a
know how that
hiccup
goes.
with my 40 yard with this hamstring strain, but
Yeah, I saw that.
trying to nurse
How's
that
that
baby
going?
back to health. I'm experimenting with the recovery methods. So it was, honestly, it was the weirdest thing ever. So I had felt like right hamstring pull like a little bit. So I'd say maybe like a slight like grade one hamstring tear in the or strain in the right side. But being that, I'm just training myself, I didn't cool down or take the brakes off or anything like that. And then so I did a power workout on Monday, did my sprints on Tuesday. Wednesday, got through cleans. I was doing a bench press and then a lateral squat complex. And on the second set, second rep, went down low. And then as soon as I started coming up, felt the pop and it felt like the muscle started to shrivel in itself. And it didn't hurt that bad, but I could tell the adrenaline hit and I was like, oh crap, like I think I just like tore something. And I was limping around, like it was rough, but like that rest of the day, getting home, like I tried to stay as mobile as I could because I knew as soon as like I locked up that it was going to be bad. So luckily I'd already finished the day by then. And so I got off, tried to walk around. I was walking with like a peg leg while trying to walk my dog. Um, it was rough for 3 days. So I let it rest for 3 days. Then the next week, um, I wore like a leg compression sleeve. I hit stim a lot, did a lot of mobility, but tried to limit like the static stretching of it. Um, did some form of a ISO all week, and then I was feeling pretty decent there, so tried to like jog around, do some light plyo. So this past week I was able to do some snatches. I messed around with some of the tennis kids and did some change of direction. I didn't go full speed, but I could still feel it like pulling a little bit, but I think as far as hamstring injuries go and being a 32-year-old man, I think my recovery is going pretty good. So I'm gonna push a little bit harder this week, try to do some blood flow restrictions, some more intense plyos, and the goal is for 2 weeks from now to try to go about 90% speed, see what sprints are feeling like. You know.
Did you do how long of a long duration ISO did you work up to?
So I split it. So some day, I think Monday, Wednesday, Friday, did 5 minutes straight. And then on Tuesday and Thursday, when I was doing single leg, I broke it into 5 1 minute increments.
Okay. Yeah, I think
So
the what you said, like the first thing that you said about how you were trying to stay mobile because you didn't want it to lock up,
mhm.
so important. Like because
Yeah,
that's how
definitely.
your body naturally works. Like you got to get blood flow to the area, you got to let oxygen get to those muscles, and your body has natural healing processes. And if you do other things that restrict those natural healing processes, you're going to hinder your recovery process. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah, people do miss out on that. And fortunately for me, my lady's an athletic trainer, so I had some good advice. But yeah, no, you're right. I didn't do any of the ice, I guess rest as far as just not doing exercise, but I was still, trying to stay mobile on a bike, walking, that kind of thing. But yeah, I think I'm in a good position. So hopefully I can get back to full speed by the time Apex rolls around.
Nice. What's your training looking like outside of that?
Oh, so I was doing 5 days a week. Normally what I do is I will do snatches on Monday, and that's more so just like a skill thing for me. I've always been pretty good at cleans, but never snatched when I was in college. Never really snatched like outside of that. So trying to work that up so that I can get my snatch and clean and jerk total over 500 pounds. That's just kind of a personal goal for me. And then I will do mostly strength on that day outside of the clean. So I'll do some form of bench press, some form of squats, and then some accessories. Wednesday is my big power day, so I'll go back to cleans, a lot of depth drops, a lot of hurdles, bench press throws, med ball stuff. Fridays is just my arm farm day. Some days I will do like a push press, that way I can still get like some upper power in on that day. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays are my sprint days. So I do try to focus on acceleration on Tuesdays, top speed on Thursdays. And then I do kind of like a prep block before I sprint. So Tuesday, I'll do a lot of broad jumps, med ball jump throws, working on my start. And then on Thursdays for my top speed prep, I'll do a lot of dribbles, skips, overhead dowel runs, mostly working on the technique and form for that. But the body's banged up. I got outside of the hamstring issue, I got a torn labrum in my left hip with a bone spur. So that definitely hinders the speed. I know when I looked at this was a while ago, but last time I got on the force plates, there was a 40% difference in the peak power between my left and right leg. And then when I was on the 1080, it was about a 20% difference in speed between like my steps left and right. So um yeah, so I try to do as much RPR as I could. I need jungles to come down so you can do some square one on me.
I know. The master.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, that's what I'm looking like. You got anything else that you want to plug at the end of this? Any podcasts, any of your personal branding or anything?
No, not right now. Someday I'll have a podcast. Not
Perfect.
right now though.
Got you. Well, I appreciate the time. Good to catch up with you, my guy. I will chop this up, probably get it posted tomorrow.
Awesome. Appreciate you, dude. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Keep me updated on how that Apex training's going.
Will do, brother. You too.
All right, my man. Have a good night.
You too.